Christmas. The video went live later than I started singing, so I'm in the middle of this song, and it's gonna sound real stupid, but here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, Geeks Worldwide Radio and the Dork Shared Universe proudly present to you the greatest podcasting team in the world. He's the Fry Guy, Nick Friar. I'm your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe. Together, we are the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby. Nicholas, happy Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy holiday season to you, my friend.
Same to you, Joseph. And we already got a little early holiday season present. We're in December, and we got a bit of news ahead of this week's show. Didn't see it coming. We'll get to that in a second. But I also want to note that if you're new to the show and you've only found us on Twitter, Twitch, over on YouTube, if you've only found us there, a way to get some presents this time of year or year-round from us is subscribing to our audio channel, because that's the only place you're going to find our Friar Side chats. And recently, we just spoke with Axel Alonso of AWA Studios and Michael Kost, who's a senior editor for AWA Studios. First time he was on the show. And Axel gave us some insight as to what's going on next year, maybe a little bit more than Michael would have liked him to give us. But hey, we're not sorry about that. Really had a fun time. It's always a fun time when Axel's on the show, but got some really cool insight from Michael too, because we've really only talked to maybe only one other editor. Well, I guess Amy Axel was an editor previously. So really only two editors, I feel like, in our show's history. So Michael gave us some insight into that as well. Maybe we'll have him on another time to talk some more nuts and bolts about that, because that's a part of the industry that I think is, at least for me, I'm curious how you feel. Like I don't know as much about that.
No, it's fun because we get little inside baseball, and I love that. And I think, and I hope that, people watching and listening enjoy that too, because it's it's sort of like the director's cut sometimes of the comics that we read, but they also get great insight and sort of what's coming down the pike, because they're in it, right? They know it. They already know what's coming out mid 2024 and beyond. So we get some really cool nuggets and some great insight there, which I really love.
Yeah, I'm very, and I called dibs on a title in there too in that conversation as well, which I'm very, very excited about that one. I didn't expect that to happen in our conversation, but you know how to bring out the best in me, Joe. So
yeah, but I possibly got us to be killed by Mike Diodato.
I still can't believe that. That was freaking insane. I told Lauren, and she was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't fucking believe it either." So still got a ways to go to get that done. But if that day comes, Joe and I are going to be really excited about that.
Yeah, it's why they call me the fisherman. Right?
Yeah. But anyways, so the only place you can find that again is on our audio channels. If you go subscribe over there, you're going to get all our episodes delivered right to your listening device, nice and easy, whether it's a mainline episode, a solicit, which normally we would do this week, but we're not doing that. And maybe stuff's going to be cooking in the hopper, nothing out there yet, nothing recorded yet. So we can't tell you exactly what it is, but if you subscribe to the audio channel, you may or may not have something delivered to your listening device at the end of this week. And leave a 5-star rating and review if it's on Apple where you're listening to us. Otherwise, you're going to learn the real meaning of Backcracker. Everywhere else, I don't know their rating and review system. I listen on Apple, so please leave the highest rating and review you can anywhere else that you do listen to us. But as I mentioned, Joe, we got some news this week to discuss. Yeah, I was blown away when I scroll through Twitter, also known as X, I guess, and I see Mark Millar has tweeted out that he has taken all of Millar World and all of the Netflix stuff from where he had previously been publishing with Image, which he still has he owns all of it. Like no matter him and Netflix or whatever, they own all of that stuff. So he can take it and move it how he sees fit. So he did that, and he is now with Dark Horse. I am blown away by this development, and it's a huge, huge get for Dark Horse.
It's an industry sort of shaking move. Yep. Now, Dark Horse made a real big splash a few years ago with Scott Snyder. And, with his properties originating with Comixology, but then, getting a lot of Scott Snyder stuff and having all those books be published through Dark Horse. And then they reacquired Stan Sakai and his new publishing company, right, Dogu Publishing, and had brought Usagi Yojimbo from IDW back home to Dark Horse. And now we get this, right?
Yeah,
I
good
mean,
call.
this is friggin' huge. Like they have like every year for the past few years now, they've made these sort of major acquisitions. And I gotta tell you, like the Scott Snyder books have been great.
Yep.
Usagi Yojimbo is Usagi Yojimbo. That's a massive property. And this, they not only get his his books and new stuff that he's going to do, but also like the Netflix stuff. So it'll be interesting, to see like what new stuff that he publishes that gets picked up, that gets optioned to Netflix. And what I love too is that starting in the new year, they're going to sort of be republishing a lot of his stuff that he had done in Image.
Yes. We got it's the Magic Order,
Yep.
Nemesis Reloaded, Nightclub Volume 1, Wanted, in Big Game. And these are actually library editions, these last few. Wanted in Big Game, the Ambassadors, and then there's Magic Order Library Edition as well. So yeah, huge stuff. So and if you haven't read these before, you'll be able to get them. And also the next title, I tweeted it out to, I believe, his first title there is going to be Nemesis Rogues Gallery. So Nemesis is a character that I've talked about on here in the past. Joe and I have talked about Big Game quite a bit on here as well. That ended fairly recently, and it was awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say this apparently picks up like the Big Game crossover event that happened is sort of like the catalyst for what's going to sort of usher in this new era of Millar World, at Dark Horse. So like just huge stuff.
Yeah, and also a little note too that we've found out in the course of things that I haven't seen put out anywhere else, but we talk about editors. The only other active editor that we've had on the show is Daniel Shaban, of course, of Dark Horse. He is going to be the editor of Millar World. He was also editing the Snyder books as well. He does a lot of Cullen's stuff as well, including one of the books that we're going to be talking about today. So some pretty damn cool stuff there. Good to see a friend of the show getting this awesome opportunity too. He's been crushing it over there for a while now. But yeah, it's a major, wild move for Dark Horse. And Dark Horse does put quite a bit of stuff on Netflix as well. Of course, most notably Umbrella Academy. And I really hope that like there are some titles that I've just been wondering for a bit now. Why have we not seen this Mark Millar story on Netflix yet? It doesn't make any sense to me. And I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some recent titles that I'd love to see there right away, but there's stuff that's been out for a bit that I'm kind of surprised about how it hasn't gotten that opportunity, but maybe that'll change. Maybe it won't. I'm just excited for the comic side of things. This is great for Dark Horse. This is one of the biggest moves we've seen from any publisher for a little while now, I would say.
Yeah, and my only suggestion would be get a new costume designer for whatever happens at Netflix when they're.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, not great, Bob.
Yeah, that was a rough go. The series was good. The comic book was good though. Yeah. Anyways, let's get to catching up now that we've gotten through the major news. So Joe, what have you been trying to get through lately?
So I caught up on X-Men. I was an issue or two behind. And I'll go over what new X-Men book drops this week. I also caught up on Savage Red Sonja issue 2, written by friend of the show Dan Panosian, which is just excellent so far. And then so Sir Nicholas dropped a little tease about there possibly being some extra audio this week, and since we're only doing what's new, typically what follows. And so here's a little again, a little tease onto who we might be talking to. I caught up on Where Monsters Lie, Nicholas.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Why the fuck didn't you warn me about this book?
What do you mean? I did a whole episode on it. Pay attention.
Holy smokes. This book was friggin' wild. I absolutely loved it. The characters were great. I wish it was longer. It was 4 issues. I wish it was like at least there could have easily been another 6 issues, and they're very easily, and I need another arc. But the artwork, the story, the characters, the premise, everything about this book, this series was fucking fantastic. I absolutely loved it. And this is a book, if you're a horror fan, it's a must read. But I think if just in general, this is a must read book. It was absolutely, it was twisted and it was brutal.
I'm glad you
but
feel
they
that way.
but there was great humor in there too,
Hmm.
especially with the puzzleman.
Yep.
Why are you saying it like that? Why is it Puzzle Man or is it Puzzleman?
It's so like Starks, man. He's on fire right now.
Yeah,
He really is. It's some really good fucking shit.
yeah,
I love Where Monsters Lie. Like
yeah.
that's a book that came out of nowhere for me, and then I just completely fell in love with it.
Well, is that the book where you called dibs before you even had a chance to read it? You
Yep.
said, yeah.
Yep. I
Yeah.
called. I think I had already I told you I'd uploaded the books, but I went like really fast and given it a look.
I hadn't even downloaded the books to read yet. You had called
Mm-hmm.
dibs. That's how quick that was. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I seriously, I'm not kidding. You know how they so I don't know if you read it in the trade form or in the single issue form, but I haven't seen what the trade looks like. I do want to get that for my collection though. I have the single issues. But for those who read the single issues, you know what I'm talking about. At the start of each issue, I think in like the credits for the writers, you would see like these wanted signs for all these criminals who live in this community, which again, I talked about this all in detail when I did the full length episode. I forget which number it was of TLDR, Joe. But when I saw the wanted sign for the signs for these characters, when I saw that was part of the credits, I that's when I called dibs. I knew that fucking fast. This book knows what it is. It knows it's going to have some fucking fun, and it's Kyle Stark, so you know there's going to be some humor in it. I just for some reason that that in itself spoke to me, and I was like, this thing's going to kick ass. And I was so happy to be right. Such an easy fucking read.
Issue 80 for those who want to go back and
80.
listen
Oh,
to it.
nice.
Issue 80.
So,
Yep.
so the last trade that we're ever going to do, because we're never going to get to another fucking trade again. But anyways, so for me, catching up at Alice Never After issues 4 and 5, we had Dan Panosian on earlier this year, and we were talking to him about Black Tape primarily from AWA Studios, but we did talk about Alice Ever After and Alice Never After. The latter was the second series. The first one was one that I talked about on this show. If you liked Alice Ever After, this is again from Boom Studios. Go check. You should be have read Alice Never After at this point. Maybe you trade waited, whatever. But Dan has said that ideally there's going to be one final arc. It's very much set up for that. So I'm assuming we're going to get that one final arc. I don't know what the title's going to be, but really, like, there's a huge swing in this series, and now basically where Alice was left in like what the fuck's going to happen to this chick at the end of Alice Ever After. For Alice Never After, it's like, okay, like somebody's ready to fuck shit up now. I think a little bit. She's ready to to tell off some people that have been trying to mess with her life and really manipulating her in a lot of different ways. So I'm excited. I get Dan had said that he while he liked Alice Ever After, obviously it was his story that he co-drew and wrote on his own. He said he liked Alice Never After a lot more. I do get why he liked it a lot more. So very excited for this, the final arc, whatever that comes. But enough of catching up. Before we get to what's new, we got a little early look at something, Joe, that you took a peek at.
Yeah, this is Beyond Real issue 1, I believe, from Vault Comics, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So this is a book where I want this known right now. I read it. It said, Nicholas, I'm not going to call dibs because this book is that good. I want you to read it. I think you should read it. It's a really good book. So what I'll do is I'll give just a brief sort of synopsis for it, because I don't want to spoil it, because I believe this book comes out next week.
Yep.
Right. So Beyond Real issue 1, Vault Comics, written by Zach Kaplan with art by Fabiana Mascalo and Tony Jejula. I think I did that right. That was a pretty good job by me. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Wow. Bravo, sir.
The art in this book is gorgeous. The coloring, the design, the art is beautiful. And the best way I would describe this is it's very Matrix like. But instead of like having that Agent Smith character, you sort of have this AI construct. And what it revolves around is a couple, who are very much in love, and there's a significant motor vehicle accident where they're both injured, but one is now in a coma, and so the other one is alive. But all of a sudden, what you get is her sort of being swept into what seems like this alternate reality, and sort of this very sort of sci-fi like construct, and the entire issue trying to just figure out what the hell's going on. Is it all in her head? Is it a result of the accident, her also being in a coma, and then you find out sort of what's going on? And so it was very interesting. It was a little a little heady in a good way, but that story premise combined with the art, I mean, it was gorgeous. So this was a great first issue. I'm very intrigued. This is one you're going to want to go out, pick up, probably add to your pull list. Then most definitely add to your pull list if we're being honest. And because we've already missed the FOC, but go out, grab it, add it, so that you get make sure you get each episode, Jesus, each issue when it comes out each month. But
yeah,
Nicholas, read it. It's a good one.
I will. So I will be circling back on this when it comes out next week. I will have it read by then, so that way I can weigh in on it as well. But this is, I mean, there are times where we both feel this way, where we read a book and it's like, we don't want to call dibs, we want to share it. I may feel like it a little more often than you, and that's sometimes how you fleece me. But that's my own fault. But it's like, it's still like when we say that, when we go out of our way to make that point, that says a lot about that book. So I'm very excited to check out Beyond Real from Vault. But now moving on to the books that are coming out this week, Joe. We got some trades that we got to get to first. Why don't you lay it out for me?
Yeah, let's. I'll wrap through these some bitches real fast. So from Marvel, we have Ghost Rider, Wolverine, Weapons of X trade paperback. This is an event Nick and I talked about. We loved it. Definitely go out and read this. And we also said too, like, this is, if you haven't been reading Wolverine, and if you haven't been reading Ghost Rider, grab this trade, and I guarantee you will want to go and catch up on both of those series. That is, of course, written by Benjamin Percy.
Yes, and you know what? I'm going to double down on that. If you like this, you're gonna want to read what his Wolverine Predator run that's going on right now, because that's again another example of like how he knows how to meld two badass characters together in the same story, whether they're together or against each other. So, but yes, absolutely. And if you've been kind of stayed away from those two titles or just superhero comics in general, and you're more on like the Image, Boom, AWA side of things, this is a great story to go pick up.
Yeah. So make sure you go grab that, because it was an excellent. It was what, 4 or 5 issues? 4, I think.
5, I think.
Yeah,
whatever. Either way,
fantastic. Silk Volume 3, Nightmare Boulevard. Star Wars Legends Epic Collection, The New Republic, Volume 7. From DC, we have Batman Volume 5, Fear Street. I don't get how DC can be so far behind with their trades when it comes to Batman. Like, they should be quicker than anyone with this. This is like several issues ago. Like, the Fear Street stuff happened like a year ago, right? It feels like, because the Fear Street stuff was the end of Tynan's run, right?
Yeah. There's a reason for that. Was it Tynan?
Fear Street?
No, was it really? No, but it was Williamson then.
It was when Tynan was ending and Williamson was starting. That was still like close to a year ago.
Wow. Right? Okay. Wow. Geez. All right.
I could have it, mixed up, but it was.
No,
it
your
was
mind is still trapped. I don't know what you're.
We have Batcat.
I couldn't help myself.
I didn't even hear what you said.
Oh, good. Just moving on.
I wrote here in the notes, Batcat, fucking gross. But Tom King's Batman Catwoman series is collected in a trade paperback. If you want to go read that, by all means. Batman Killing Time, and then we have Zatanna and the Ripper Volume 2. From Image, we have Volume 3 of Gunslinger Spawn. From Boom Studios, we have Goo's favorite book, Garfield Full Course, Volume 1.
There was Garfield comics being put out, other than like maybe stuff that's in the newspaper that I wouldn't even know then.
And then from Dark Horse, we have Star Wars, The High Republic, Volume 2, H.P. Lovecraft, The Shadow over Innsmouth, Volume 1, and the Great British Bump Off trade paperback.
Which you haven't checked that out yet, but you were supposed to.
Yeah.
John Lees was raving about it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Now that it's a trade paper, we should get that, right? We should have gotten that trade in the.
I'll have to look into it. Probably, maybe. I don't know.
Because I'd like to read that all at once. But anyways, let's get to this week in New Comic Book Day books, Nicholas. That's my movie trailer voice.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, that was new and will probably never be repeated again.
Okay.
So from Marvel Comics, the week of December 6th, 2023, Nicholas, we are coming. We are dangerously close to the end of the year and
I know.
dangerously unprepared for our annual.
That is also true. But you know what? Our listeners are going to enjoy the wait. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that. That's for fucking sure.
yeah. Thank God you have me and my organization skills. I'll tell you that much.
That's for damn sure.
So from Marvel, we have the Amazing Spider-Man issue 39. We have Venom issue 28. We have Fantastic Four issue 14. The Avengers issue 8. Star Wars issue 41. The Invincible Iron Man issue 13, who will not be returning to the MCU. We have Alpha Fight issue 5. Thunderbolts issue 1. Star Wars Dark Droids D Squad issue 4. The Sentry issue 1. Marvel's Voices Avengers issue 1. And Nicholas,
Yeah.
it is a rarity, but I've got two Marvel books I'd like to discuss this week. One of which being X-Men issue 29. So I caught up on the past couple issues. I think just a past issue. I think issue 29 came out this week. I need to read issue 28. And I've said it before, like this most recent, like everything since the latest Hellfire Gala has been excellent. I love this idea that like you've got Professor X in exile and Magneto, right? We got no idea. At least I don't, because I'm only primarily reading the main X-Men line, where Magneto is. But you've got these surviving members of X-Men in hiding, trying to get rescue those that need to be rescued. Cyclops is still in prison. Juggernaut is still in, who would have thought like Juggernaut is like
Yeah.
we need Jugs on our squad, guys. He's still so everything with Orcus, it's absolutely fantastic. And what I loved about this issue, with that, I don't want to give too much away, but there's a certain villain that I love, whom we'll definitely be seeing in the MCU in the not too distant future. Plays a prominent role in this issue, which I love. Need more of this character. So if you've been reading X-Men, you're gonna love this issue. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Like X-Men, for me, at least the main run by Jerry Duggan's been on an absolute heater.
I didn't get a chance to check this one out, but I had been up to speed on it. A couple things flew under my radar because I did want to check out the new Thunderbolts title too. I'm a little pissed that I didn't look at that one. But you had another one that you wanted to touch on too.
Yeah. So the other one I wanted to touch on is Daredevil, and so we're 4 issues in now to Ahmad Salad's, and I probably just butchered his name, and I apologize. Run on Daredevil, and I remember the first issue was like, I don't know, and it was mostly the art, but that's really gotten tightened up these last several issues, and the storyline has been excellent. It's a different, I wouldn't say it's a different take on Matt Murdock and the character. It's just seeing it from a different, seeing him sort of from a different perspective, and there's some supernatural stuff that's been going on, especially with good pal Van Urich. And what's been going on between him and Daredevil and him and Murdoch, and just everything about it. It's different from Chip's run, and it's its own thing, and it's very enjoyable. I've been enjoying this run of Daredevil very much, so I'm glad, because I didn't want to just have to give up this character. I didn't want to be like, oh, Chip's not writing it, I'm not going to give it a chance. I'm not going to read it. Because there might be people out there that are like that. And I would say don't. If you love the character, Ahmad is doing a great job and is doing the character justice. He's writing a great story. This is a great first arc so far. So, again, highly recommend Daredevil. For those who read Chip's run, if you haven't picked it up, give it a shot, give it a go. If you have been reading it, I hope you've been enjoying it as much as I have, because it's been really good stuff.
That's I'm really glad to hear this, because I know you were very skeptical going in, as much as we had talked to Chip about it, and he was involved in some capacity in at least when he talked to us, he was at that point in finding out who was going to be the next Daredevil writer, which, I mean, that's again, we say it a lot. That is a character who's been very well written for a very long time at Marvel, and you can't say that about a lot of characters. Even when you look over to DC, to just have that be a consistent thing. So for you to say that, for how important Chip's run is to you, because it's not just like, oh, I really enjoyed it and I really like Chip's style. Like, it was pivotal for you and just your comic reading experience and everything as well. So
Yeah.
for you to still be like, yeah, this is 4 issues in, it's going well. That
Yeah.
carries a lot of weight to me.
Yeah. It's, the tone, right? It's like I said, it's different, but it's
Mhm.
very, I just didn't want to be a cranky ass old man. Like, no. So give it a shot.
Sure.
If you haven't read it, it's fantastic.
Nice. That's awesome to hear. All right, over to DC. Speaking of Batman, of Chip, excuse me, Batman issue 140, which you are all up to speed on. Shazam issue 6, Birds of Prey issue 4, Blue Beetle issue 4, Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville issue 4, Titans Beast World Tour Metropolis issue 1, Batman Santa Claus Silent Night issue 1, which, by the way, I don't have a whole lot of interest in reading this, but the Dan Mora cover for this thing looks so fucking good. Titans Beast World Waller Rising issue 1, Superman 78 The Metal Curtain issue 2, Scooby Doo 125, and then Poison Ivy, a title that I've talked about on the show a while back, issue 17. I am all caught up on this. It seems like there's some really big shit that's going to be going on with her, kind of been leading up to like a major development. So I think that the next issue is going to be the end of the arc. Not sure what like, if this is going to be the big fight's all going to happen here or what. But again, G. Willow Wilson has been doing an outstanding job, and it was a guest artist on this issue, so it's slightly different, but like still the same aesthetic. It still felt like after a month you wouldn't know like this was a different artist necessarily. It's just I just didn't register until I saw it at the end. So awesome stuff. If you've been enjoying Poison Ivy, you're going to continue to enjoy it. But if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. We got nothing from AWA this week, Joe, but what about Boom?
Well, I was going to say, we don't have anything from AWA this week, but go listen to our chat with Axel and Michael, because there's a lot coming down the pike,
Yep.
baby.
Yes, there is.
Some good stuff, and some stuff wrapping up as well. So make sure you go check that out.
Mhm.
From Boom Studios, we have Ranger Academy issue 3, Stuff of Nightmares, Sleigh Ride issue 1. 'Tis the season, Nicholas.
Yes.
So there was an RL. So the Stuff of Nightmares, I had an initial arc. It was like 4 or 5 issues. I read it, enjoyed it. It was fine. And then it looks like they've been just doing a kind of a series of one shots. This appears to be that, a one shot. We have Buffy, the Last Vampire Slayer, issue 5. We have Orcs, The Gift, issue 1. And then this next book, I read the first issue, and I think I said, I'm on the fence. Let's see where the second issue is at. And that's The Space Between issue 2. It seems like a fine story, Nicholas. The art's great. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing about that. I think there's a pacing issue with this book. There's a lot of panels. There's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot to take in, and it's not necessarily like action packed. And so, like, I'm not saying that this is a bad book. I'm not saying this is, Bat Cat or anything like that, right? This book just isn't for me,
Gotcha.
right? So someone might pick up this book and read it and absolutely love it, right? Because it's not that the writing's bad, and it's not that the art's bad. I think the art's beautiful, actually. But the story didn't quite catch me. And like I said, I think to me, there's a bit of a pacing issue. There's just a lot of panels. There's a lot of dialogue, and it was a lot for me to try and get through. So, but Space Between issue 2, that might be something that you're into. What do we have from Dark Horse? The studio of the day.
Yeah, Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures issue 1, Hellboy Winter Special: The Yule Cat issue 1, Usagi Yojimbo Ice and Snow issue 3, which of course Joe is reading, Stranger Things: The Voyage issue 2, Subgenre issue 2, Time Traveler's Tales issue 1, and then the Midnight Show, which I've mentioned a few times on here. This is by Cullen Bunn, Brian Hurt, and the colors by Bill Crabtree with letters by Jim Campbell, and edited by a friend of the show, Daniel Shaban. And I've been really enjoying this series so far. and it's been kind of like first issues setting the table, kind of, and then things get a little bit out of control in the second issue. This third one, absolutely bananas. Like the art's been really good the whole series, but Hurt really got a chance to cook here. It was just freaking crazy. And the thing about this series, I think that I've appreciated most from the jump, outside of like just it's the throwback horror characters and everything like that. And anytime you're a horror fan, you're gonna appreciate that when it's done well, and it is done well here. But also the way this series has been paced so far has been very like a steady climb the whole way through. So I've really appreciated like what Cullen and Hurt have been able to do on this one. So third issue is out so far. This is a book that I do have dibs on, and I intend to talk about on the show. This is and also like the pacing, as much as it's been like a slow build, this also was like a very, very fast read. So when it comes out in like a collect edition for those who are trade waiting, this is going to be one you'll be able to probably read in one sitting.
Love that. Love that.
What do we got from IDW this week?
Okay, from IDW, we have Sonic the Hedgehog, issue 67. We have The Hunger and the Dusk, issue 4. Speaking of G. Willow Wilson, this has been an absolutely excellent series so far. We have Star Trek Strange New Worlds, the Scorpius run, issue 4. Dark Spaces, the Hollywood special, issue 4. I've been pretty on top of the Dark Spaces series. This one completely flew past my radar. It's like, what? I hadn't heard of this. How are we on issue 4 already? But,
yeah.
Yep, that one. So that's going to be one I'm going to have to go back and check out. We have Catfight issue 5, and we have My Little Pony Camp Big Hoof issue 5.
Nice.
And then I'll take us take us to the next one there, Nicholas.
Yeah, well, we got a couple here. So Dynamite Fire and Ice issue 2, and then Legendary Red Sonja issue 1. Then from Skybound, we got The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 78, Creepshow Holiday Special issue 2023, excuse me. It's like an annual for them in some way. And then we also got Transformers issue 3, which Joe and I have been talking about a ton. We don't get the review copy for that, but we've been really enjoying it so far. So very, very excited for the third issue. And again, like Joe, you loved Transformers growing up, correct?
Yes.
And I did not.
I wouldn't say I loved them. I enjoyed them, right?
Okay.
I didn't have a ton of the toys. I maybe had one or two. You know, I watched the cartoon, but I didn't watch the cartoon like I did, say, Ninja Turtles or something else, right? But like, yeah. So I was never a huge Transformers guy. Loved the Shia LaBeouf movie, the first one. The rest, not so much. But like this book, like, it's excellent.
Yeah, and I'm someone who, I enjoyed the Shia LaBeouf movie or the original one, like fine, but I've never been huge into Transformers. I was introduced to Transformers through Beast Wars first, so that's kind of like it's just I had a weird, like my timeline for Transformers is strange. I've really, really enjoyed the first 2 issues of this series, so definitely worth checking out. Then Joe, we go over to Vault, and we got something out from them this week.
Yeah. So this is from our good pal John Lee's The Nasty issue 5. Now he tweeted out about a week ago. He said, dropping next week is The Nasty issue 5, and he said this is one of the most fun issues I have done, like, period. And I said, well, how about that issue of Sync with the couple playing with the toys? And he said, well, that's on the short list as well. But after reading this issue, I get exactly what he was talking about. So what's made The Nasty a really great and fun series to read is it's a horror book, and it's not like a gory horror book like Sync is or Hotel or anything like that. And it's based on these C-level, D-level horror movies, that you would get at the video shops, and this group of kids are trying to create their own their own horror movie at a time when these things are being banned and stuff like that. And so it's like a lot of like the old school video stores and things are on videotape. And so the aesthetic of the art is brilliant because it gives you that sort of VCR sort of graininess to it. So like, there'd be times you'd rent a video from Blockbuster or your local video store. I don't know if you can remember this, Nicholas. This is maybe before your time, but if it was like an old movie or one that'd been rented after you put it in, or if you get a shitty VCR, you kind of get like a little blurriness sort of on the edges, right? And so that's the aesthetic that's the aesthetic on like 80% of the panels in this issue. It's great. And so what you're getting here is like the build up to this has been the kids, trying to, write the script, get the props, get the set together, have the movie come together. And this is a lot of what you're getting is sort of like what you're reading is them acting out the movie that they're making, which is great. And then it like, so excellent issue. I get why John loved this one so much. This was a very, very fun, issue. The story's great, but the art in this is, I can't gush about the art enough. It was fantastic.
By the way, I saw him tweet out about like Christmas gift ideas, and like he was plugging his own stuff and everything. And when I saw the image associated with the link that he put
Yeah.
out there, it was the clown nose from Sync,
Yeah.
and I was like, interesting. I wonder how he feels about what Joe had to say about my recommendations for.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was thinking of the kids, Nicholas.
Well, some would say John is too. I don't know, but anyways, we got to move on to the last publisher that we want to highlight for the week. Of course, that is Image, which they have a lot of kick-ass titles out this week. We have Kingspawn issue 28, Joe's favorite title, The Sacrificers issue 5 with all them birds, Blood Commandment issue 2, which again, like Simon Kudranski's art is just, you say it all the time about his stuff. It's fucking crazy, man. This was we both read the first issue, and I believe you enjoyed it. I know I did, but this second one I thought was like particularly more eerie. And I know the other one was, don't get me wrong, it's like grim, it's all like largely black and white and everything. But it was just, this was a great step in the right direction. Is basically how I felt about the second issue. Knights issue 2. Midlife or How to Hero at 50 issue 3, a title I have dibs on, been and continue to enjoy it. Speaking of titles that we have dibs on, you got Petrolhead issue 2. That was out this week. Then we got a pair of number ones that we want to touch on. And another, where do you want to go first, Joe? You make the decision.
Let's save Kill Your Darlings for last.
Sure.
So what we're going to do here is, I only read one of these two number ones. I picked the wrong fucking one, Nicholas.
Oh.
So let's start with Our Bones Dust issue 1. I want to hear your thoughts on it first before I give mine.
Okay, so this is actually written and drawn by one creator, and I read it and I was like, okay, like it reads pretty fast just because of the nature of it. And then I was like, okay, like there's an interesting, smart, like younger character who is, you got this post-apocalyptic world. It feels like it's got a, I know it's recent and maybe the current events and maybe makes you a little biased here, but it feels like it's got a Mad Max kind of feel to it. And then you get an ending that's like, what the fuck? Jaw dropper. I was like, okay, this is solid. I don't know. Like we have 2 number ones out this week. And I was like, I don't know if this is the one I would stick with, but I was like, maybe I'll check out number 2, but it didn't wow me necessarily. So it was like solid. What do you think?
Yeah. I did not much care for this book.
Okay. I'm curious.
Not my cup of tea. The art, I had a hard time with the art for me personally. I had a hard time. Now I get why the dialogue was the way it was. But it was very, very broken. It was, and again, you're dealing with sort of like a world, where, are these mutants? Are they cannibal? It was just like, aesthetically, the story, like everything about it just wasn't my cup of tea. And I didn't get a chance to look at the other one. And then when I did, I go, fuck, I picked the wrong one. So like, I really try really, really hard not to put books down on this show, because I know what goes into writing a comic. I know, and I don't want to be disparaging. This comic just wasn't for me, right?
Yeah.
So like, very rarely, I don't want to say, oh, this book sucks. That's not at all. It just didn't grab me. The art like didn't pull me in. Like we talk about that before. Like sometimes, like maybe it's not your favorite art style, but if there's other elements of it, you can kind of look past that. But when you've got it all, it just never really came together for me.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's a fair way to break it down, honestly. So yeah, so I will see if I end up looking at it. There's definitely been times where I said, "Oh, it's solid," and then I'll go and I'll take a look at it, and then I don't ever really talk about it again on the show. Maybe I will. Maybe we'll see what happens. But the other number one that came out this week. So you meant to read Bloodrick issue 1.
Well, it's not that I meant to read it, right? Like I didn't
Okay.
have a chance to read it, and when I saw that you had underlined it, put it in red, I'm like, okay, I'm assuming Nick's gonna call dibs on this, but maybe not. But I looked at it and I go, okay, again, like the art style, it's very sketchy. It's very
Mm.
Hayden Sherman-esque, right?
Yep.
Which,
Yeah.
right,
I
I
think that's a
do
good
enjoy,
call.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at some of the character designs and go, fuck, this looks awesome.
Yeah.
I should have read this one.
Yeah. This is weird because I really did enjoy this. And
Yeah.
for the sake of dibs, just to get this out of the way, this is a mini series, so I think it's only 3 issues, maybe it's 4, but this was like a 40-page issue. So I would normally call dibs like just because I really like this first issue, but I'm not going to and say you go ahead and read it. And this is just something we'll go on this journey together and talk about it, month to month, because it just doesn't feel like it doesn't. I there's depth to this, but again, because it's a mini series, and as much as a 40-page first issue, so I don't know, but so Bloodrick issue 1 is written, drawn, I believe, lettered, colored, all of it by Andrew. I believe I'm saying his last name right, Cranky. But he has been
Crikey.
he worked on this thing. He has like a page of like a comic explaining the path to this getting published at Image, and the guy's been grinding for 10 years to do this. And it's like I think it's worth your time to read this if you go and pick up Bloodrick. And just on that alone, and I know there are a lot of creators who spend a lot of time to just break in to get certain stories put out, all this stuff, but he lays it all out there. I do think this is one that's absolutely worth giving a chance on that alone. But then, Joe, like you said, like you have this old school, but also kind of like Hayden Sherman modern like aesthetic to it. But like the coloring really gives it like this old school vibe as well too. But yeah, it's like it's to me, it's like old school comics in Hayden Sherman. Like that's the art style that I would like describe here. For again, I believe it's pronounced Cranky. But for me, one of the things that was really interesting too was the narration, because it's very much third person narration throughout the majority of this, but there's a lot we still get insight into Bloodrick and what he's like going through mentally. And and the character's kind of funny too, because he feels like in some ways like he's a hunter and he knows what he's doing, but in some ways it does feel like he's a little bit dense. But it's an interesting experience. And this is it's very much going to be a character driven story. So I'm very excited. 40-page first issue. For those who want to know a little more about it, I'm just going to read the synopsis real quick. Bloodrick is angry, confused, and starving, unable to achieve success in his usual hunting grounds. He stomps his way into unfamiliar woods in an attempt to feed his stomach and heal his ego. What he finds will lead him on a journey of madness, violence, fire, and blood. Yeah, feel his stomach. I'm Ron Burgundy. It's not even that. I didn't fucking fuck up the typo. It was a copy and paste job. Anyways, Bloodrick issue 1. There you go. So make sure you check
Awesome.
that out.
Yeah, the aesthetic was really cool. And I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
Because then I could have been like, well, I didn't read Our Bones Dust. And even the title too, like Our Bones Dust, it's broken. Like it's just I didn't read it and I wouldn't have had to say what I said. But you want to be honest, right?
Yep.
If you want to
100%.
have credibility, you got to be honest.
Yep.
So that
100%. I don't
but
think that was
anyways,
unfair, if an unfair way to put it whatsoever, for a linear
yeah,
reason.
you can't like everything, but Bloodrick, for those, like if you go to the new comic book store, if you're listening to this and then you're still going out to the store, take a look at it. I think you'll like the aesthetic.
100%. Speaking of enjoying aesthetics, we're gonna wrap things up here with Kill Your Darlings, issue 3. Written by Ethan S. Parker and Griffin Sheridan, and drawn by Robert Quinn, who have all been on the show. And we've been talking a lot about with respects to spoilers and stuff, the primary plot with Rose. But at the start of every issue of Kill Your Darlings, you have this other like timeline that we're getting, it's getting touched upon. I don't remember exactly where it was in the second issue, but I know this is where we were in this other timeline. It's a bit of a jump from at least where we were in the first one. Fucking insane. Like it was it was a crazy tone setter in the first one. But this third issue, like again, the stuff that's happening away from Rose, like seems to be in a different lifetime or whatever. I was like, what the fuck is this? I have no idea if the guys alluded to it when we had him on the show. I can't remember for the life of me. But
Neither can I.
Blew that blew my mind when I saw that. I'm like, what is this all gonna fucking lead to? Because this is insane. No?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta tell you, this book, we're only 3 issues in, so it's gonna be hard to like, like if like another issue or two were out, this would be a real serious contender for some major TLDR awards this year. Ethan Parker and Griffin Sheridan's writing is awesome. They're telling a really great story. It's emotional, it's funny, it's fantastic, and then you've got Bob Quinn's art, and it's beautiful. This book is gorgeous. It's a fantasy story. It's an emotional story. This is such a good book. Like you really need to go out and read this. And I love this issue, and it's funny too because we got this issue. Was it last week or the week before?
Yeah,
right.
Early
and read it, and it got pushed back a week or two or whatever. So like, of course, my fucking age-addled brain is Swiss cheese, and forgot that. So when I'm going through the books, oh sweet, kill your dogs, and I'm like, this seems. Oh yeah, you already fucking read that. But you know what? I'm gonna tell you what. I read it again anyways. One, I need to get closer to 1,000. But two, I really love it. This was such a great issue, and I love the character designs, the world that they've created, and then the way it ended. Just like holy shit! Like every issue has ended so brilliantly, with just a panel or a splash. It's just been like shit. Yes. Give it to me. Give it to me again.
So you've read doubles of Kill Your Darlings issue 3. You know what they say, right? Triples is best.
Oh, triples is best.
Yeah.
Triples is best. I'm gonna go to the ice cream store.
The only other note that I wanted to say on this, speaking of like how this book is beautiful, I will never get over the darkness that this title brings, and then the combination of the cute, cuddly creatures that Quinn has freaking designed. It's fucking awesome every time.
It's the best. It's the absolute best.
All right, that is going to do it for us this week on What's New. Again, subscribe to our audio channels because you never know what's going to pop up. And the only place you're going to find that is on our audio channels. We're talking Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Geeks Worldwide Radio, SoundCloud, all those places. Again, leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple. Anywhere else, please leave the highest rating and leave a nice review that you can. And again, tell fellow comic book reader, we're giving you guys comic book talk, and we're also giving you inside information from creators and other people across the business. Until next week, Joe, stay sexy.
You fucking know it, baby. All right.